So without further ado, allow me to welcome our very distinguished and eminent speaker of tonight, Professor Sai Satish Vedam. Professor Vedam is a senior faculty director of programs at the Institute of Product Leadership and was most recently the director of products at Oracle. A very warm welcome to you, Professor Vedam. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us tonight. Kindly take this session forward.
Thank you, Shima. Thank you for the welcome. It is quite heartening to see so many folks joining for actually two reasons, right? One, it is quite late in the night. 9:30 is a time, especially on a weekday. I'm sure many of you are quite tired, exhausted after a long day's work, and I still see the enthusiasm and interest to join in, which is great. And the second reason is the topic that we are going to discuss today is not something new. In fact, I gather that this particular topic, how to break into product management careers and roles, there are lots of webinars almost on a weekly basis, and lots of articles that are being written about, right? So for these two reasons, still seeing so many of you join is very heartening, and welcome all of you, and thank you for joining. So what I plan to do here is keep the discussion very engaging, right? So first I'll share my learnings. So I've had about 23 years of corporate life. I worked in Sun Microsystems as an engineer and as an architect, and then moved into product management role in Oracle. Spent more than a decade plus in managing global products for global customers. I have been fortunate enough to work with some very smart people, hire some very smart people, and over a period of time, continuous hiring for many years, I've also developed a perspective on what it takes to be a really good product manager, and what does industry look for when hiring for such roles, right? So what I will do is share my point of view, my learnings, right? And along the way, note down your questions, or ask in the chat. Or what I actually prefer is, I'll spend about 18 to 20 minutes going through this, and then we can make this an interactive session. So that way, this is not necessarily a webinar where I spend about 45 minutes going through some slides, but more importantly, share my learnings so that you get a different perspective, hopefully, from all the other things that are happening on the same topic, right? So with that, let me start with first asking this, important question about when we keep hearing about product management or product manager. Often I hear people talk about this as a title, right? And while that is true, in India, of course, we have very interesting titles. Product management is not necessarily anything different than what it is used outside, but the roles and responsibilities of this product manager role in an organization is very important to understand, right? Again, often people also get confused between product owner responsibilities and product managers. So there are definite differences between those two. And in the career path of a product manager, there are new and additional responsibilities that come in, right? So we will kind of, talk about what are those areas at a macro level, and I'll be happy to take any specific questions that we have. So a very basic question: what is product manager responsible for, right? What is the primary goal of having the product manager in the organization? And the way that you think about that is essentially, this is a role that drives product vision, right? Product vision that is articulated and set by the either sometimes the head of products within your organization, or a founder if it's a smaller startup company, or a top down from the leadership teams. And of course, to accomplish that vision, what is the strategy that we want to take? And there are multi-pronged strategies that one takes. And so essentially this particular role drives vision, drives the product strategy, comes up with innovative solutions to the problems that exist in the market, or identify the problems that you want to solve. And more importantly, of course, vision and strategy and all of these things is pointless if you don't have a well-chartered, well-planned execution engine, right? So a product manager is also plays a key role in driving that execution, while there are engineering teams, engineering leaders who are primarily responsible for it. So think of this particular role as what we call as an orchestrator, right? I'm sure many of you have seen videos of a Western orchestra, where there is a person with those two things in the hand, sticks in the hand, and just waving things. And for a untrained eye, it looks pretty random, or it's not dependent on something. But if you think about it, this is the person that is coordinating the various players sitting and playing different instruments. There are a whole bunch of violinists, there are a whole bunch of pianists, there are cellists, all of these folks who are experts in what they do. They are expert musicians. And this orchestrator knows which team should dial up at certain point in time, which team should dial down, and so that you bring in a harmonious orchestra to the listeners of this orchestra, right? So imagine this role as a master orchestrator of this whole orchestra, right? So if I were to summarize, this is what it is driving. You're not, you will hear lots of cliches about product manager role, right? You're the CEO of product, you are the ambassador of the customer, and a lot of those things, which partially are true in my 13 plus years of product management experience. But mainly, yeah, the job is to drive it, which means that you are not the only person who's responsible for it, but you are the person that is going to work with everyone, influence everyone, bring all of them to the common stage, and then drive them towards the execution of that vision and strategy. So if this is the summary of that particular role, what are the key responsibilities, right? Specific responsibilities of a product manager in an organization. So you start with, often many people who are either on the outside who are looking into product manager role, or somebody who just got into it, always think that this is all about building the product right? Which means, you come up with requirements, definition, provide clarity, demos, and making sure that the customer actually can benefit from those features and all of that, which is building the right product. But another important element that often gets missed out, and which is very crucial, is building the right product. What does that mean? That means that, first of all, understanding the customer perspective, understand the customer pain points, understand the customer needs and requirements. Some pain points are obvious and critical, and it, and they are able to articulate it to you, but some of them are not. And hence there is a techniques, there are skills that are required here to elicit those needs, to incite those needs, right? So hence it's called customer inciting, which includes what we call as customer discovery, problem discovery. Now this is a most crucial part for any product manager to know. Choosing the right problems to solve, and whether this problem is worth solving, is a lot of effort and a lot of skill goes into it. And once you define that, once you make a decision on that, then you start building this product in conjunction with a whole bunch of experts who are good at what they do, whether they are engineers, whether they are QA, whether they are designers, whether they are marketing folks, all of that, bringing that right set of people together to build the product right. So that's a number one responsibility of the product manager. Now, while you do this, especially in medium to large enterprises, it is absolutely critical that you find the right champions, meaning that you need all the support that you want, right? So again, you would have heard of this cliche that, nobody reports to a product manager. A product manager basically needs to influence, negotiate, and get things done, which is very true, by the way. Until you get up to director or senior director, often other people don't report into you, and which in my view is a blessing, by the way, right? So that you can focus all that energy and enthusiasm and creativity in finding the right problems to solve, and defining how you should build, or what kind of solution you want to build it. So which means you need to work within the organization, maneuver through the organization sometimes, and this is even more important in large organization, to find the right set of people to become champions for you, right? Become champions for the cause that you're going for, the problems that you want to solve, and the products that you want to build. And of course, to build that, bringing in the right set of people, the right investment or funding is required. So this is a very critical thing, which means there are important skills and mindsets that come into picture in all these areas. And the third one, of course, is in every organization, the time, effort, money, and especially time to market are very critical, right? And sometimes they are scarce. You really need to get to market pretty quickly. You can't wait for months or years. So in that case, internally, you need to find stakeholders buy-in into this, right? And often product leadership teams, senior VPs and heads of products, the decision making that happens around this is based on a business case that you present in terms of, here is a market opportunity, and this is how we want to solve it, and this is our go-to-market strategy, and these are our projections for revenues, right? So all of this, of course, start with a hypothesis, and you often create experiments to test it. But this is a really, really important part. Unless you convince your leadership teams about there is an opportunity worth going after by building a particular product, that is not going to be approved or blessed, if you will, right? So now start thinking in terms of what are the things that we need to do if you need to perform these roles. And that is important from a product management skill set point of view. So before I get into some of my learnings, and I'll specifically pick 3 learnings in the interest of time, and because we want to have this more interactive, I wanted to kind of demystify what are hiring managers looking for when they are looking for product management roles, right? Now this is very important, because often I get asked, and I coach dozens and dozens of amazing smart professionals who are very good at what they're doing and looking to transition into this role. So I will kind of summarize it in this way. Every hiring manager to a product management role, right? And product management role is a strategic role, as we talked about before. They are looking at this candidate using 3 lenses, right? And think of this as dials on your car or whatever, right? And these are basically 3 aspects. One is the domain skills, right? The second one is functional skills, and the third one is leadership skills. So what are domain skills? I think many of you understand what these domain skills are. Some of you may come from telecommunications background, some of you may come from pharmaceutical, some of you may come from e-commerce, lots of industries and expertise, right? Security, networking, and all of those things. Functional skills are basically the role that you performed for so many years, right? It could be project management, it could be business analysis, it could be program management, or even engineering, right? So those are the functional skills that you have been working on and good at. In terms of product management, there are specific functional skills, right? Product management itself is an area which has several competencies, and we'll quickly see what those competencies are. But a hiring manager is looking at a candidate or an aspirant from a product management functional skills point of view, right? And the third one, a very important one, by the way, is leadership skills. Now, there are many, many leadership skills, right? But if you ask me, what are the most important leadership skills to actually upskill myself or be ready and prepare myself for it, and what are those skills that the hiring manager is looking for? Number one is what we call as the art of storytelling, right? It's absolutely critical that a product manager has the ability to develop a story, to tell a compelling story to your stakeholders, to your teams, to your customers, so that they actually take action that you want them to take, right? This is a very, very powerful skill and a must-have skill. The other skill that I would say is influencing skill, right? Gone are the days where managers basically use performance appraisal or bonuses or hikes as a tool to actually get things done from the team, right? People get inspired and influenced by leaders who actually walk the talk and provide a guiding path. So this is a very important skill for product managers, right? Now, you have these 3 dials. So if you were to basically get ready in all these things, let's take an example. Let's say one of you is working on networking, right? and you've been working on, a networking company, for example, let's say Juniper, right? And Juniper, you're good at networking, you spend 7 years, 10 years, whatever it is. So if you're going to Cisco, Cisco is obviously going to expect that you're going to have the domain skills, right? The networking skill, which means that the dial on that is already high for you. So what about the dials on the other things? Because everyone who is looking at a product manager role should have a combination of these three skills. Now, sometimes to begin with, you may not be at 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 in these areas, but it's important that you focus on upskilling yourself in these areas, right? Become really good at these things. Now, there's also one more point that I keep hearing often from people saying that, should I be a technical person to become a product manager? Should I be an engineer? Should I have technology knowledge to become a PM, right? So it's a very important question, because often you see the job descriptions that are there are kind of hinting at you should be a technical person. Now, it is true if you're going to be in the role in a company that is using technology to build products, right? Clearly, you should have some understanding and a working knowledge of certain technology areas, but it is not required that you be an engineer or a programmer or you have been in the past, right? So that, in my view, is not a necessary condition, but having a good understanding of technology is important and required if you are building products that uses technology, right? So take this, this is a distilled learning, if you will, after hiring dozens of product managers myself, and going through, and at least I know a lot of people who are hiring also are looking at it this way, right? So this is how you need to think about it. So now I'll move into the specific competencies, right? Skills and competencies. What are those skills in the functional role of a product management, right? Now, there are many, actually, depending on whom you ask. If you ask me, I would say there are 21 important skills. But all those 21 are obviously not required when you're beginning your journey in the role. They are required at different stages. They're required if you get into product owner, product manager, senior product manager, group product manager, director, and all these things, because your responsibilities are more. You're now managing a portfolio. You're sometimes responsible for P&L in some companies and all of those. But to begin with, there are few and core product skills that will highlight are important. Now, all of the competencies and skills are summarized, if you will, in this very nice framework that IPL had created years ago. And this has kind of become a nice standard for many organizations to look at it and say, okay, how do we set up a product function? What functions do we need to augment? And what kind of people do we want to hire to augment that function, right? So all the blue one that you see, the blue in the flywheel, light blue and dark blue, are what is often called as inbound product management, right? Which means the responsibilities that you take as a product manager to focus inward wise. You are not actively involved in customer interactions, customer engagement, or with the teams that are talking to the customers. So you're often involved in product planning and building, whether we should build this or not, build, buy, partner decisions, and whether the problem is worth solving, right? Quantifying the opportunity before you even set out, saying, let's define what this product is, let's define the capabilities or features, let's define user stories at a much more granular and detailed level, so that the teams, the expert teams that are supposed to build this, design this, test this, all of that have clarity, right? The red one that you see is often in many companies called outbound product management, or sometimes companies call as product marketing, right? Now, product marketing skills or outbound skills are not necessarily must for a product manager, but it's a very important interlock role, right? Which means as a person, as a product manager, you will be actively engaged with the product marketing teams, because you're now going to enable the sales teams in communicating the value that you have created out of the product. After all, what is building a product? A product is nothing but something that gives value to the customers, right? The customers derive value out of it. In exchange, they are paying you money or data or whatever it is, right? So all of these things. Now, these are the competencies, and of course, there are skills within those competencies that you see. So this is a very interesting way to look at it and understand what skills are required. So let me get into quickly 3 learnings. Of course, I have a lot of learnings, and the way that I that I talk to folks is, look, life is too short to make all mistakes. So learn from my mistakes, don't do them, and make your own mistakes, right? So I want to bring in three of them here. The first and a very important thing here is this role is all about understanding cross-functional skills, right? Building a cross-functional skills. So now what do we mean? Because, as I said, you're an orchestrator. This role is an orchestrator role with different teams, different responsibilities, different stakeholders. That includes developers, that includes marketeers, that includes designers, that includes partners sometimes, and that includes your leadership teams, and of course customers, right? So which means you should have different contexts, understanding of different contexts in these things. And so what are those contexts, right? So briefly I'll highlight, I won't get into too many details, but a very important context is customer context, right? Meaning you have the ability and understanding of what the customer pain points are, what their challenges are, what their needs are. And there are specific set of skills that are required to know this, to insight this, to discover this and validate this, right? So customer context is important. Business context is important in the sense, assuming that if you are in an established company, a company already has a business model, right? The way it acquires the customers, the way it positions to the customers, the way you monetize it, the way you deliver this, all of this is part of a business model. Business model is not just how to make money, right? That's a revenue model. Revenue model is part of the business models. And understanding the strategy of the company or defining a new strategy if you're going into a new market or if you have certain business goals. So that's called a business context. Now, often, a lot of teams, even lots of product managers spend in what we call as innovation context, right? Meaning, what features should we develop? What technology should we use? How do we use this technology to build a particular product to take it to the market? All of that is, very engineering driven and engineering focused, if you will. And that's important too. Now, a key aspect of it is if you are not having a pulse of the market, constantly a product manager need to pay attention to their market, right? So if you're solving problems or needs for telecommunications industry, how is this industry changing? There are macro trends that are happening. There are micro changes. There are behavior changes of customers, and a lot of, say for example, you are in finance industry, right? A great example is a big disruptive moment that happened a few years ago is the demonetization that happened in this country, right? Overnight, the cash is disappeared, high value cash. And hence, how do you react to this pretty quickly, come up with different ways and making, solving problems for people to make payments or to receive payments. And hence you saw the fintech industry take off, right? The fintech products take off. So market context is absolutely crucial. And again, a process context in large companies, you have established processes around development, DevOps, and all of those things. But every day, product manager's job is a ruthless prioritization, right? And a prioritization based on objective mechanism and some subjectivity to be able to explain to stakeholders why something is of a high priority and why something is not. Otherwise, there's going to be friction. There's going to be contention between the teams who think that something else is a priority and something else is not, right? And finally, as I said, leadership. So these are different cross-functional competencies one needs to be aware of and pick the most important ones to upskill yourself. And that is really, really important because of the learning too, right? And I actively pursued this approach. I know a lot of companies take this approach in hiring product managers. Demonstrable skills are more important than decoration of your resume, right? Hiring based on resumes is declining, especially for the roles which require collaboration, influencing, and communication, right? So this is really critical. And hence, whatever skills that you build, you need to be able to demonstrate to your prospective employers to say that, look, not only it is on my resume, but I can actually show it to you and have done something like this so you can look at it, right? And designers are very familiar with this concept. And hence, if you ask a designer, they always build a portfolio. Similarly, hiring for product managers is now increasingly going towards hiring based on product portfolios. right? Product portfolios are, simple examples like doing a market sizing and market opportunity analysis. Let's say, Zomato wants to enter grocery delivery business, right? Which it did. So you don't need anybody's permission to come up with a market opportunity analysis. If Zomato wants to do this, is it worthwhile for them to do it or not? There's a lot of publicly available information, and of course you need a skill to do market sizing, and then you can put it out, right? So there are numerous things that you can build as part of the portfolio, and I strongly encourage all of you to start thinking this in terms of, how do I build this portfolio? What kind of portfolio do I want to build? And to build that portfolio, what kind of skills do I want, and how do I learn them? And learning from the right people, learning from the right place, and applying them, right? So that's learning number 2. Learning number 3, all of you will agree when I say this, but it is not often that easy, right? It's very important to recognize that who you know is often more important than what you know sometimes, right? This is what we often call it as networking, right? Now, unfortunately, many people think networking means send in a LinkedIn invite and be done with it. We have connected with that person. Now, 2 weeks later, you won't even remember why you connected with this person. Who is this person? Neither you will remember nor the other person will remember, right? So don't just limit yourself to this kind of networking. That is not networking. Essentially, what it means is being able to be a part of a community of like-minded people who would want to share things with you, who would want to provide opportunities, ask for opportunities, and not just, hey, do you have a job? I see there is a job opening in your company. Can you please connect me to so and so? That might still happen, but don't do it with that intent, right? The intent should be that, how do I learn from others and how do I contribute back? And that is very important, because that's when people start seeing you as somebody who has high potential and also as a product leader. So take this advice. And I know it is not easy for many of us. In fact, I was not a big fan of networking. I was, many people who come from engineering background can relate to this. We are happy sitting with our computer and brain and working on things. But at a certain stage in career, it becomes really important. And career transitions happen through who you know, right? So pay attention to that part of it. So with that, I think, if the question is, how do I start? When do I start? I think the time to start is now, right? There is no better time to start than right now. Start building those skills that you need. Start building that portfolio that I talked about, and start demonstrating this. There are many ways of demonstration, right? You could do a 2-minute video, right? Or many of us can just turn on the camera and pick one particular topic and demonstrate our understanding and expertise on that. Or if you you can write. Again, you should start. I mean, there is nothing better than starting. Start small, start consistently, start writing, and over a period of time, you yourself will figure out what is the best way that you can communicate and add value to the others, right? So increasing your digital presence is really, really critical for anyone. If you go to let's say a job interview for product manager, these days, it's not just resume. As I said, many people are Googling for your name. Many people are looking for social media profiles, including LinkedIn. Do you have a website of your own? Have you created, some videos? Have you given talks? Have you written something? These all will help you differentiate than many, many hundreds of others who are applying for the same job, right? So in a sense, start thinking about moving from managing projects to managing experiences for customers, right? And that is what is all about. It's a very challenging role. Let me tell you this, it's frustrating and it is challenging role, because you will have to deal with so many moving pieces, moving parts, right? But when you try to put all of those together and you see the outcomes, there is no more satisfying job than this particular role. So with that, I will leave it up to you all for any questions, and I'm happy to answer them, in this context. So hopefully that was useful. Of course, I didn't dive deep into it, mainly because I know there will be questions around these things. So opening the floor for any questions, please.
Thank you so much, Professor Vedam, and definitely useful and definitely a great guidance to all our audiences here.
Thank you.
So We'll take the first question in the Q&A window. But before that, I'd like to make a mention to the audience. So guys, please go ahead and raise your hand and I shall unmute you for asking your questions. You can have your interactions directly with our speaker, like I mentioned. So please raise your hands, guys. We'll start with this question. How newly taken up role as associate PM role, what's the best way to plan my career way ahead, at least for the next 3 to 5 years? This question is from Bala.
Bala, first of all, congratulations on that role. A very important step and very exciting role, I must say. And this is Associate PM is a new roles that are being created in India, especially providing a nice career path for people who have been in engineering or technology in small to medium companies. And of course, now big companies are also taking the cue, which is very good. So often what happens is when you get into this particular role, there are certain responsibilities that are assigned, and they are more focused on managing the sprint, right? So there is a scrum owner, there is an agile product owner, or any of these things, and we come with a notion that somebody has given you a list of features saying that we need to get this out at next release, right? So now, can you go define these requirements more clearly? Can you provide information to designers so that they can come up with mockups or wireframes or whatever? And I'm assuming this is some technology product. If not, let me know. But otherwise, lots of the time you will be heads down looking at this, right? Now, the way that you want to plan for the next 2 years or 3 years is the kind of competencies that I outlined, right? Start working and start thinking in terms of the customer context and the business context. You can start with the customer context, which is, if somebody given you a list of features to say, let's build this in the product, a very basic question to ask is, can we understand what is the need or what is the pain point that the customer is trying to solve? Right? Often that gets lost in translation by the time it comes from customer to through different layers to the team that is building it. So you want to get ahead and understand this as directly as possible from the customer. If not directly from the customer, I'm sure there are frontline teams that are interacting with your customers, right? It could be customer support, or it could be sales team, it could be account teams, or whoever it is. So make friends with them and start getting that customer context. And the next thing is, it's important, Bala, to learn product vocabulary, product management vocabulary, because when you start using these words and phrases, people recognize that you know what you're talking about. For example, if you just say, what is the customer acquisition cost for us, right? CAC. Now, often people don't understand what that means, but when you start asking such questions, the other teams, stakeholders that you're working with will take notice of this and saying that, okay, looks like Bala is in the progression towards more customer-centric roles, more business-centric roles, and provide you that opportunities. And of course, don't ignore the different skill sets that you would need as you move along that path. And those are the ones that you should continuously be up to date and continue to learn and be aware of it. Right? So hopefully that answered that question.
Thank you, Bala, for the great question. Ashish, I'm going to unmute you now. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello.
Hey,
yes, Ashish, go on.
So I just wanted to know, sir, about the what challenges that you are facing in last 30 years, sir.
Me? What challenges have I been facing?
In last 30 years, I mean last 10 to 15 years in product management, like product.
So I'll tell you my number one challenge, Ashish. The number one challenging is getting the right product managers.
Okay.
That's the number one challenge. The other things are all, I think, it's a part of evolution of both the function, the role, responsibilities, and also the industry. Of course, industry is rapidly changing. New disruptive technologies have come in. Things that we couldn't do 2 years ago have now become very easy to do. And I'm talking about disruptive technologies like machine learning, AI, and I'm a big fan of design. I'm a very passionate evangelist for creating products that delight customers, and hence every product manager should actually have a working knowledge of design. So from a personal emphasis point of view, I talk to all product managers to say you guys should get some design understanding and design skills. But I don't, when you say challenges, to me right now, at least in our country, the challenge that I face is hiring the right product manager with right skills. There are so many people with the title, but when you have these discussions or conversations, a lot of them, unfortunately, this is true, they actually lie. They are lied on the resume, and hence, I don't want to go by resume anymore. Not only me, there are many people in the industry are now recognizing this and looking at job auditions, right? The thing that I talked about, demonstrable skills, is what is called as job auditions, right? So coming up and basically displaying the skills and demonstrating the skills that you have. So yeah.
Okay. And one more question is that there is a n number of product management job profile in the market, like digital product management,
Mhm.
business product management, technical product management. Then how to choose the right path?
Yeah, so each of those, again, you have to look at what the responsibilities are. For example, the unfortunate thing, or rather the interesting thing in many companies in India is several companies define the responsibilities of product managers slightly differently. In many companies, the actual, the set of people with product manager responsibilities are called product owners. And many
Okay.
companies, it's vice versa also. Product owners are called product managers, although they're only focusing on the very focused inbound activities. So
Right.
technical product managers are somebody who have very strong technical background, and they actually work very closely with engineering architects and leads to decide what technologies to choose, even going to the length of defining and choosing a particular, whether it's a database, whether it's a JavaScript toolkit, whether it's a
Okay.
machine learning. So there are very technical people. And on the other hand, when you look at the business product managers, right, they are usually not very technical, and most of them have an MBA background. Now, this is
Okay.
another interesting thing that you would see, that companies are asking for some kind of an MBA, right? And that is not a requirement, but often, we from a hiring side find there's a lack of benchmarking, lack of baseline, right? And hence some companies have chosen to put this artificial constraint, saying that you should have an MBA. Not that an MBA person is any better or any great. They do have a good understanding of the business aspects of it, but in my experience, in fact, non-MBA product managers have performed really better. So I encourage you to read the responsibilities that are published in those job profiles, summarize them, and see the pattern. And if you're a technical person, maybe you
Yeah.
want to gravitate towards technical product management.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing is that I means the best industry in future, like for product manager. Do you have any idea means about that?
I don't know. See, product
Best
management, the
industry.
way I look at it is industry agnostic. If you are able to have the customer context and the customer centric skills, it doesn't matter whether you
Okay.
work in a telecommunications industry or railways or airways or digital products, right? So, of course, the tools that you use, the technology that you use will differ between the things. Domain expertise plays a key role. If you have that, great advantage. If you don't have, you will always need to bring up to your speed on that. Domain expertise is something that cannot be taught, right? You have to live in that, you have to work in it, you have to experience that to gain expertise in that. But the hot areas, if you will, where companies are actively hiring product management roles are digital products. So that's one area that we see a lot
Okay.
of opportunities. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much,
So
Ashish, for the
maybe,
questions.
yeah.
So we have a lot of hands raised for you, so they want to interact with you.
Yes,
All of them
yes.
loving the enthusiasm. So we'll take this next question from Vishwas.
Yeah.
So Vishwas, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, sir. Hi.
Vishwas.
I have been working for some time. So, I mean, if I want to switch to a product management role, now, should I start as a fresher or do I start as a fresher? Because companies, uh, looking at my work experience years, they
Yeah.
expect some kind of prior product experience, which I don't have, and nobody's willing to hire me as a fresher.
Yeah.
So, what should be done?
No, great question, Vishwas. I think this is, I'm sure many others also have this, and I keep hearing this. And that is the reason why I brought in that element of don't bet your career transition on resume, right? Because if you continue to go and give your resume, and if you don't have a title as a product manager and you don't have anything else to show, then what are they going to prioritize the candidates on? And hence, if you want to differentiate yourself, even though you don't have a title of a product manager, is that portfolio that you can build and demonstrate and showcase to people, you are already at a different stage, right? So that is one part of the question answer. The second part is, let's say you have about 15 years of work experience, and you want to move into product management role. Now, it is not advisable to obviously look at a product manager or a senior product manager, because whether you are willing to do it or not, most companies will not be able to afford you, right? Although product management is a very high paying job today, right? Really high paying job, in especially in technology companies. So my advice to you is, look at what are you expert in, right? So let's say you worked in a particular domain, in again, in e-commerce, or in pharmaceuticals, or in healthcare, or any of those, or finance, or any of those things. Now you want to leverage that experience and not completely do away with it, because then what will happen is, if you chase these new age skills, technical skills that are coming, right? So obviously AI, machine learning, blockchain, all of these things are very hot, and definitely, you want to know and learn about them. But if you want to become a product manager, in those particular areas, you are naturally competing with 4 or 5 years experienced people, and they are much more agile than you, they are much more flexible than you, and like it or not, they are probably half the cost, right? So you would be at a disadvantage to begin with. So my suggestion is, see what you have spent time in, what you're expert at, leverage that, but now differentiate yourself by not just putting or trying to use your resume, but building that portfolio. To build that portfolio, you obviously need to have those skills, right? So start with upskilling on that area. Yeah.
Thank you,
Sure,
Vishwas.
sir.
That was a great question.
Thank
Professor
you.
will take this next question. It's from an anonymous attendee, but it's a very good and relevant question.
Mhm.
So, is ICPM relevant only for product managers? How far does it help product owners and business analysts?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the ICPM program, or the Flex program, essentially is designed for roles, functional roles like project managers, program managers, business analysts, engineers, architects, who are looking to transition into product management roles. It is not necessarily for current product managers. Now, current product managers will obviously benefit from the structured learning that happens in that program, right? So of the 20 plus competencies and skills that I showed you in the flywheel, the ICPM Flex program has handpicked 5 core courses, because those are the must-have skills to get entry and to become better in the product management role. So that program is absolutely designed for all the roles that you mentioned.
Right. Thank you, sir. So, Nida, I'm going to allow you to talk now. So please go ahead and ask your question. Okay. Anyways, Nikhil, please go ahead and ask your question.
Nikhil, you're on mute in case you're talking.
No, I've already unmuted him.
No, I see him mute. So
Okay.
Am I audible now, Shama?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Professor, I have actually, I have a background, non-IT background, and I have done my marketing in general management. And post that, I have like 7 years of telecom experience, but it is more of a governance role where we have to handle vendors and all. So I don't have a lot of in-hand experience of technologies, but I'm quite aware of the technologies which are there. So now if I have to transition from this kind of role, it's been almost like 7+ years of experience now. So from this kind of role, if I have to transition to say a e-commerce firm, then what kind of domain skills I have to build, and how can I build it? And you said that portfolios I can build, but portfolios, where do I get the case studies for that? Like I just take it from internet and I try to build some kind of business cases and draw out like user journey maps or something like that, or is it I mean, I'm a little confused here.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
let me give you my perspective on that. So,
Yeah.
I think 7 years is an excellent experience to start thinking about moving into product management, because you understand the industry, you understand the customers, you understand the business part of it, especially if you are in the governance role, right? Vendor management, all of these things. You know the what it takes to actually take something to the market, right? So that's an important part of it. Now, coming to what is needed for you to do it, if you're, remember the dials that we talked about, right? So if you need to switch to a different domain, and if you want to be seen as somebody who understands that domain, who has the experience or expertise in that, it is possible. A lot of people from IPL programs have done this, moving from fintech to e-commerce and telecom to e-commerce, but it does require quite a bit of involvement and commitment and work, right? So as I said, domain is not something that you can get by just reading some things or viewing some videos. Now, if you ask consultants, they will tell you, in fact, consultants are a very interesting group, right? They'll say, we can talk about any area. Now, the way they do it is quickly understand that particular area so that you gain awareness level or literacy level of understanding of that domain, and have this meaningful conversation. But to be able to build products, to be able to create solutions to that market, you need some expertise. So which means you'll have to spend some time in that area. Moving into that domain might be a good option in any role. It doesn't matter whether it's product management or not, so that you get an understanding of that domain. Now, on the portfolio part of it, you really can't build portfolios by downloading some cases from internet and then building it, because you need guidance, you need coaching, you need to understand there are certain specific skills that are required. So I think you should undergo or join a program that gives you a structured way of learning, not just the skills, but immediately how do I apply that particular skill in the context of a project or an idea, and so that you get to practice. And because the worst thing that you can do is actually create a completely incorrect way of applying those skills, and people who know will look at it and say this is bakwas, right? That's the worst thing that you do. You rather don't have any portfolio than creating a wrong one, right? So the best way to do that, in my experience, is you either have a coach or a mentor who is a practitioner, and in the context of a program that helps you learn those skills, right? So that's a better way.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
it's a faster way, actually.
Thanks, Professor.
Sure.
Thank you, Nikhil. So we'll take this next question from Meher. She says, "Hi Satish, that was a great presentation. How
Thank
do
you.
I build an attitude of solving customer pain points?"
Now, awesome question. I'm glad that you actually highlighted the attitude, right? Because often people miss the point that when you talk about customer centricity, there are some very, very important skills, right? So we call this as customer discovery skills, customer interviewing skills. And there's also, if you look at it from a user researcher point of view, design thinking point of view, they're called ethnography and other techniques, right? So that certainly requires a very different mindset. In fact, putting yourself in the shoes of a customer and thinking like them is what we call as empathy. And empathy is not something that everybody has, but need to be cultivated, right? So the only way, and by the way, my personal experience is that, I used to be, as I said, an engineer, and I used to solve the problem. If the customer did not like it, I always used to point at them and say, you didn't understand it, you did not know how to use it, it's not my problem, right? But then that's a wrong way to look at it, right? Now, you may still be right, but understanding why the customer is not getting it or not able to use it is an absolutely critical mindset. And the only way to build that mindset, in my view, is understand what that mindset is and practicing that mindset. That practicing requires you to putting yourself in that situation or condition, right? So for example, let's say you work in a project that requires you to go and interview 40 people. So this is what happens in basically many of the IPL programs. Every participant comes with their own product idea, and there is an ideation discussion that happens, and they present an idea. And when that gets shortlisted, they form founder and co-founder teams, and then you take them through to the journey, and they will have to go and interview customers. Now, for a lot of people, this is very discomforting, right? But if you don't do it, if you don't try it, then how do you know what is important and what is not? So this attitude and the aptitude, the way to build that is to put yourself in that situation, fail multiple times, and that's okay, and you learn from it and go through it. But before that, of course, you need to know what that customer centricity is all about. There are certain frameworks, there are certain techniques and tools, and once you know them, how do you use it is all application part of it. So hopefully, Meher, that clarifies your question.
Right. So next, Jyotsna, please ask your question.
Yeah, hi there. So,
Hi,
am I audible?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, I have 12 years of experience as a project manager in publishing industry, book publishing industry. And now recently, a month ago, I have moved to an edtech company, e-learning company, basically. So where now I am acting as a bridge between sales and technology team. And the strange part is that I don't have a sales background and I'm not a technology person. So what do you suggest? Which course I should take to enhance my skills? What do you think?
No, so, the way that you put it seemed quite complicated, but I'll try to simplify this, right? And many people find in this situation, you are wedged between the sales team and the technical team, but many others find themselves in different, contexts like that. Understand this, when you say product management, it is essentially what we call as value management, right? Meaning that first understanding the value that you want to create for your customers, because they have certain needs, because they have certain pain points, your product or solution is going to create that value, right? Now then comes the actual phase of creating that value, which is what we call as development, engineering, building, and all of that stuff. Now if you don't understand what value you need to create, it becomes harder to create that value. Now assuming that you have created that value, the next stage is you want to communicate that value to the market, to your customers. It's called value communication. And often, it's a fancy word, but it's nothing but product marketing. In product management, product marketing coming together and using the value that you've created. It's called value proposition. How do you translate that into something this customer understand? Now you are exactly in the interlock role here, which means on one side, you are working with the teams that are creating value. On the other side, you need to work with the teams that need to communicate this value to the customers, which is all about marketing and sales, right? Sales is also delivering that value, but the sales people need to understand and convince this customer that the product that we are building generates enough value for them that it solves those needs or not. So which means you really need to have all the understanding and the skills about this understanding value, creating value, communicating value, delivering value, and capturing value. Capturing value is nothing but pricing and monetization and all of that. So these are the cross-functional skills that I talked about. Yeah. Did that help, Jyotsna?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jyotsna. So this next question is from Hanmanta.
Yeah.
Any prerequisites to take this product management course? Though technical skills is not a mandate, but technical skills required to take up the course, please advise.
I'm not sure which program Hanmanta is referring to, but almost all the programs in IPL, the number one prerequisite that you need to have is the seriousness and commitment to get into product roles. You don't need to be a technical person, because this is not a technical course. There is no programming, there is no development. Of course, there are certain tools that will be shown to you, demonstrated to you, and you will need to apply them, working on projects and hands-on activities and capstone and all of that, because towards building your portfolio. But other than that, you definitely don't need technical skills. The most important thing is the attitude, the aptitude, and of course the seriousness and commitment to transition your career or transform your career. That's all is needed, honestly.
Right. So in view of time constraints, I'm going to take this one last question from
Sure.
Havish.
Yeah.
So Havish, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Professor. So I have a doubt. I have a very mixture of career profile. So my engineering, I started my own startup as a technology startup. and wherein I was a one-man army. So I had to develop the code and do marketing, sales, and then after that do after sales and everything. Then I went on to do full-time MBA. And after that, I was like clueless what to do. So I was left with, either to go into HR, marketing, or sales, the typical, after MBA profile.
The conundrum, yes.
Yeah. So I was like confused. So since I had the development background, I thought, I would go into the recruitment, the technical recruitment space.
Okay.
So when I was in that space almost for about 2 years, I hired product managers for a fintech client. So that's when I understood that I had done all these, at least most of the things, not in that scale as a corporate, but at least probably 10 to 20% of most of the things I've already done during my startup journey.
Okay.
So that's when I thought, okay, will this help me if I do a transition from the recruitment space to product manager space? So I just want to understand, like, how do I go about this? Any piece of advice for me?
So since you've been an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've learned a lot of. I myself have started 2 startups in the past, and I have a scars on my back to show for that. And I'm sure you've realized that you are having to do everything, right? As you said, development, roll up your sleeves, do the marketing, do the sales, all of it. But often all of this is very chaotic, right? And sometimes we take a step back and say, what is connected to what drives what, right? And a lot of these questions come up. And this is where I found that a structured way of understanding the relationships between each and how to prioritize what and what drives what is very important. And that is essentially all about going through a structured program like this. Product managers are nothing but, in large companies, we call them as entrepreneurs, right? Now, they're nothing but, doing exactly the same thing an entrepreneur does, but minus the risk. There's a lot of risk is offloaded to that company, right? So if a product fails in the market, of course, you as a product manager usually will be responsible for it. But then you are not burning your own money, your own peace of mind, and a lot of those things, right? So now, the roles are very similar. It's just that the risk factor is higher in entrepreneurship. And here, to make sense of all these things, my learning in all these things is putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Somebody should help you put these pieces of puzzle together, and also highlight which is a high priority one at a given stage in your product journey. And that, in my view, gives you a lot more clarity. And all these programs, by the way, help you do that together, right? So skills. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Avish, for the question. In view of time constraints, we will have to end the Q&A here. Thanks for the participation, audience. Product management is not a subject that you can get answers to within an hour. And hence, we have made various platforms available to address all your queries. Reach out to us on our website for detailed information on ICPM Flex program, or book a 30-minute session with the faculty with this QR code on the screen. Thank you, Professor Vedam, for taking the time of...
Thank you for the opportunity. And I really appreciate all of you hanging out still at 10:30. Good night. Take care, and wishing you all a very happy Deepavali. Thank you.
Thank you for your valuable insights and the time you have given us, sir. And it was a pleasure having you here. And audience, thank you for joining in. It's been great interacting with you all. Do not forget to register for upcoming sessions, our webinar sessions. With that note, I end tonight's session. Also, the Institute wishes you all a very happy Diwali. So start your product journey. Start your journey to becoming a product manager this Diwali by availing scholarships for the International Certification Program in Product Management. Please scan this QR code to get more information. You can talk to our counselors with this QR code, and they'll give you a detailed info on how to attain the scholarships and the test to be taken. With that note, I end tonight's session. Happy learning, stay skilled, and have a great night, guys.